wrote down, actually, I'm gonna tell you words that I've got, and then we'll go from there. So I got hoping, row, crazy, baby, looking. Okay. And now I'm going to count the letters up. Okay. I'm going to count the letters up. So this has 6, this has 3, this has 5, this has 4, and then this has 7. And I'm going to find the average word length of my sample. Okay. So you're doing this for yours. Yours is going to be different. Don't just write my words down. You should have done this on your own. Okay. Take a second. Go ahead and figure out your average length. Mine was 5. Mine was 6. There you go. Okay. Once you find your average, you're going to go ahead and put it up on the board. Okay. Come put a dot wherever your average is. Okay. Okay. All right. So once you're done, go ahead and put your average dot up on the board.
Because I did it on the recording, so I have whatever class that you want.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't like this desk, but this thing, the block is already, there's no stand up one way. This is our dot plot, right? Everybody got the dot plot down? Okay. So what was our population? What was our population for this? Where do we pull our sample from? The lyrics to Crazy in Love, right? Okay, so on your paper, either up at the top or like right in here, you can say the population is all the words in Crazy in Love. Okay. Now our sample was whatever the 5 words were that you picked. This number right here is our mean, our X bar. That is called a sample mean. Hitting you with all the vocab today. So population, sample, sample mean. Okay. Now, I just told you to pick 5 random samples or 5 random words, right? So this is what we call a convenient sample. Because how did you pick? Like, how did you pick your 5 words? I mean, like, what was your strategy?
I like big words, so I pick big words.
Okay, so it's whatever was convenient to you, right? I think each person's going to be a little different, but you probably picked ones that were like, either really close to the top or large words or small words, right? Okay, so that's a convenient sample. Let's say that we find a new sample of 5 words using a random number generator. So put your average on the dot plot on the whiteboard on the front of the room. So what you're going to do is on that document on the next page, it has all of the words numbered. Okay, so I'm not expecting you to actually number them. But what you're going to do is use a random number generator. So good. Okay, so you're going to use a random number generator. And when you do this, you're going to go from, what's the last number? So 97. Okay, so 1 to 297. And it'll pick a number and you'll go in here and find that word and then write it down. And then you'll find the average. Does that make sense? Okay, so here's again. So your words are numbered. You're going to do a random number generator 5 times. Whatever number it produces, you're going to go find that word and total Peachtree, all lower caps. You're going to total up the number of letters in that word and then find the average. Okay. Take like 2 minutes. Go ahead and do that. You should have already gotten the dot plot. So this is what we call a simple random sample. Okay. Simple random sample. Simple random sample. You use a random number generator in order to make this happen. Okay. So you took all of the words, you numbered all of them, and then you use a random number generator in order to find that sample. Okay. So with the convenience sample, so in number 3, so if you go back to number 3, is there going to be a low bias in this or a high bias in this? Why? Because it's what? You chose your own, and you all had different reasons for why why you were picking those words, right? Okay, so that's going to have a high bias for the convenience sample, right? Okay, for number 4, that simple random sample, put down here. So for the simple random sample, is it going to have a high bias or low bias?
Low bias,
Why?
because it's random.
Okay.
It's random. No human involvement.
Right. Okay. Makes sense? All right. Now on number 5, it says, how is the dot plot different from number 4 to the dot plot of number 3? Which do you think is a better estimator for the true average word length? Talk to me. 4, why? Low bias, right? It also has a lower center. I feel like those dots are a little bit closer together. A little bit. Okay, and random number generator is a better estimator. Just like what Anna said, with there's no human involvement, right? So what do you think the true average word length is for Crazy in Love? That's close. Close. It's going to be 3.5. Let's just say 3.5. Yeah. Which is going to be called the mu, which is the true population mean. True population mean. Okay, here's where all the vocab is becoming important. X bar is the sample mean. Mu is the population mean. Okay, for my visual learners, X bar, sample. Mu, population. They're both means. It's just which part are you talking about? Does that make sense? Okay. Don't get those mixed up. All right. It is known that Beyonce wrote the lyrics for all of Destiny's Child's songs. The average word length for these songs is 3.64. Based on your work today, do we have convincing evidence that Beyonce didn't write the lyrics for Crazy in Love? Why?
The average word length or is the literature is not close to BC. That's statistically 3.64.
Okay. So it's known that the average word length for Crazy in Love, I'm going to put CIL, okay, is 3.53 letters. It was close to our estimate, which is very close to Destiny's Child songs, which is 3.64. So no, we don't have convincing evidence. Good. All right, so big takeaways. Once you get done, flip the page. Yep. Okay, so we talked about population. Okay, and from that population, we can take a convenient sample. Convenient sample. From population, we can also have a voluntary response. And then we can also have a simple random sample. All right, remember, convenient sample means easy to reach. Voluntary response is people choose whether or not to respond. Okay, and these two lead to bias. We also talked about a simple random sample. The first thing that we always do with simple random samples is we label the individuals. Now, what I did for you was I gave you the paper with all the numbers of the words on there. Okay, now, if you were going to do this, you would have had to label all those words. Okay, on the second one, we're going to randomize. So we're going to use a random number generator. And then 3, we're going to select. So this is the process. You're going to have an FRQ that's going to ask you to describe how to create a simple random sample. Okay, so for whatever context. So you label the individuals, you basically assign them numbers. You could write names on a piece of paper. You randomize, you can either use a random number generator or you can pull them out of a hat. Pull out of hat. You've got to make sure that you mention that you shuffle. Okay. Whenever you use a hat, you got to make sure you're like, oh, you shook it up. Okay. This is the description that you're going to talk about whenever you are having to do an FRQ about describing a simple random sample. All right, let's start chatting. I know some of you are still working. All right. So it says a sign at a local business says rate us 5 stars on Google and get a $10 gift card. The store manager uses the ratings to learn how people in the community feel about the business. What type of sample did the manager obtain? Voluntary response sample. Okay. It's okay, Ian. It's fine. I appreciate you. All right. Voluntary response. Okay. Explain why the sampling method is biased. Okay, so they were most likely motivated by the gift card. And so, like, if you are going to give me a $10 gift card, well, of course I'm not going to, give you a bad review, right? All right. Let's say that the manager finds that 92% of the customers rate the business with 5 stars. Is 92% likely to be greater than or less than the percent of all the people in the community who truly believe that business deserves 5 stars? Okay, so 92 is greater than, is likely greater than people in the community who would give 5 stars. Okay. All right, let's say to help reduce bias, the manager decides to survey the next 10 customers that make a purchase. What type of sample did he just do? Convenience sample. Okay. Convenience is normally considered like within reach, right? Okay, and explain why the sampling method is biased. So how, okay, so the customers probably all made a purchase and may not be representative of the whole population. Probably gave higher ratings, right? Because if you bought something, you obviously like the store, right? Okay, so these customers, and we did convenience. These customers all made purchases and may not represent population, whole population. Population, yes. All right, so how could the manager avoid the bias described in question 2? So simple random sample, right? Good? Okay. All right, go ahead and flip the page. Yeah. Yep, gotta talk about Taylor Swift now. And all the singers. Fine. Okay, so how much do fans love Taylor Swift? This is the first day. So, do y'all like Taylor Swift?
Yeah.
Okay, raise your hand if you like Taylor Swift. Okay, I'm talking to the right people. Good. Okay, so Taylor Swift wants to find out how much fans enjoyed the Eras tour. She'll ask fans from 1 to 100, where 100 is the most. How much did you enjoy the concert? The VIP section she wants to survey has 50 seats, so 5 rows by 10 columns. The stage runs along the northern edge of the venue where Taylor is pictured. She wants to take a sample of 10 fans. Okay, so what we're going to do is a simple random sample. So we're first going to describe a simple random sample, and then we're going to actually do it. So the first step is going to be that we're going to label the seats 1 to 50 because there's only 50 seats, right? Okay, that's the first step. Second step, you're going to use a random number generator to generate 10 seats or 10 numbers. You can't have repeats, so you're going to ignore repeats. And then we're going to select those people. Okay, so go ahead and take a moment. You're doing 1 through 50. We're going to number these. This is 1 to 10, and then 11 to 20, all the way down to 50 on this side. Okay, take a sample of 10. Okay, so take a second, try that. Making sure that you like kind of make flashcards because some of these are a little harder. This is going to be a stratified random sample. This is called a stratified random sample. Okay, and strata means rows. Okay, so what it tells us to do is randomly choose 2 fans from each horizontal row. Okay, so we're going to do it from each row. We're going to choose 2 fans, right? Now, again, you need to use a random number generator. So you're going to number these 1 through 10 and do a random number generator twice for 1 through 10. Am I losing anybody? 1 through 10. You're doing 2 numbers in each row, okay, until you get 10 numbers. Okay. Now on number 3, it's the exact same thing, stratified, random sample. This time though, the strata is columns. Okay, so strata is meaning like you have like a restriction on your sample, right? You're looking at it this way or this way. So you're gonna do the exact same thing, except this time you're gonna do 1 through 5, and you're gonna do that 10 times. Okay, So you'll pick a number 1 through 5. Oop. Okay. Now, on number 4, which method do you think will give the best estimate for the average enjoyment? Why? Is method 1 the best way? No. What about method 2? What's better about method 2 than method 3? We still have 10 samples, right?
Like it depends on the people in front, people in the back, like who had a greater experience.
Okay.
Like what versus the first one.
All right. So on number 4, method 2 is the best for average enjoyment because this ensures representation from each row. Ensures representation from each row. You ever sat in the movie theater and then sat on the first row and your head's like this and you're watching a movie and you can't enjoy it because that too. Yep. So based off of the row placement, we're getting rid of that. We're making sure that we take into consideration those rows. Okay. When you pick your strata, you always want to pick the one with the biggest influence. So pick the biggest influence strata, influential strata. Okay. Okay, so if it's rows or columns, whatever, but you're going to pick the one with the biggest strata. Okay, so now that you've done your sample, you're going to go ahead and flip over to the back. And now it's time for actual data. So for each of your samples on the previous page, you're going to calculate the average enjoyment, and then you're going to add the average to the dot plots on the board. Okay, so I'm going to put the dot plots on the board. But you are calculating the corresponding number to the seats that you picked. You're going to find the average for sample 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so once you're finished, and this should probably take you about 10 minutes, maybe max, you're going to put your data on the dot plot on the board. Okay, so go ahead and take a moment. Asked whether or not you like Taylor Swift, and all of you were like, no. So I need to go back to the dot plot. Okay. All right. So go ahead and write that down. Now, number 5, based on the dot plot above, which method would produce the best estimate for the true population average of enjoyment? What was the best option? Number 2, why? So number 1's kind of bad, right? Like, look at our dot plot. Because it's completely spread out. Like, it's all over the place. We don't actually know the true average, right? On number 2, it's a little bit closer together. Except for those, like, outliers. Like, if we get rid of those people, then the rest of it's kind of close together, right? On number 3, a little bit more spread out, a little bit higher. So maybe by column, it's showing us that the closer to the stage you are, the more enjoyment it is. Yeah. Okay, so stratify by row would be our best option. So on number 5, you're writing stratify by row. And that's because the dot plot has majority of dots together.
So why am I?
Okay. All right, so let's actually talk about like how would you do these stratified random samples? Like how would you write it out? Okay, so what you're gonna say is stratified, thanks, babe. Random sample. God bless.
Goodness. Oh, there it is.
Oh my.
I feel like I'm being bullied by this thing. Hold on.
Yeah, yeah, technology is the one though, especially the crappy technology.
Stratified? Nope.
Cheap technology is mean to us.
Like, you see me trying though, right? Like, okay. Mm, okay. Here we go. Stratified. Can't stop me. All right, stratified random sample. You're going to split the population into groups. We talked about this being called a strata. Okay, then you're going to choose a simple random sample from each strata. Okay. Each strata, I love spelling, strata has individuals yes, with shared attributes or characteristics. Have we heard of homogeneous grouping and heterogeneous grouping? Yeah, like back in like bio. Look at how bad that is.
Wow. Oh, part of this.
Bill. Okay.
Oh, wait, you say, if, I thought so.
Okay. Another thing that we talked about was good estimates. Okay. A sampling method produces the best estimate if there is low bias and low variability. What does it mean by variability? No.
Oh, okay.
Low variability.
This part of me.
Spread. So talking about like how spread out those dot plots are, right? Okay. All right, so low bias, that means that we're not using a convenience sample, and low variability, meaning that it's not spread out. Okay. And now for the fun part. Check your understanding. Yay.
I already did it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go and go to the next one. All right, so go ahead, take a moment, try or check your understanding. Okay. A principal at a large high school is proposing a new digital hall pass students would access using their phone. How crazy would that be? She wants to know what proportion of student body is in favor of the proposed change. So take a sample of 100 students. So would this sample be a replacement or without replacement? Okay, so like, what does that mean? Like, okay, so you sample, and I'm gonna be like, hey, Ian, like, would you like this or would you not like this? Would you like having a hall pass that's on your phone? Okay, so he would like it. So I'm not gonna ask him again. Like, I already got his response. So I'm not gonna put him back into the population. Does that make sense? So without replacement. So you would not select the same student twice. Okay, everybody get on that? All right. Explain how the principal could take a stratified random sample using grade level as the strata. Okay, so obviously freshmen versus seniors, you're going to have a different response, right? So we're going to separate based on grade level. So we're going to split the population into grade levels. So split into grade levels. All right. Then for the ninth graders, you're going to label them 1 through we don't know how many ninth graders we have. So like, we're going to say 1 through N, right? And then you're going to use a random number generator, select 25 numbers. And then we're going to pick the corresponding people. And then you're going to repeat the process. Questions on that one?
I think maybe are we on part two of the DLD?
Right. So explain why the stratified random sample might produce a better estimate than a simple random sample. Okay. So stratified is going to have lower variability, right? Okay. Stratified is going to have a lower variability. So for instance, ninth graders might be for it, while 12th graders may not. Because what that would mean is you have a hall pass on your phone. That would mean that when you walk down the hallway, you would have to show your phone to a teacher or principal or anybody who has to see it, right? So, yeah. Okay. Pretty good? Questions? Okay. So at this point, we've gone through 4.1 and 4.2. I know that it's a lot of material. I understand that it's a lot of vocab. I highly suggest that you either A, make flashcards, or on Quizlet, there's already ones that are already like created. You just have to say like AP stats, sampling, and you can maybe like look at the random samples, the different types. Because these are not the only ones that we're going to talk about. There's more. Okay, so if you want to go ahead and start looking at the next parts, like the next lessons, probably would help you just a little bit. So like tomorrow, we're going to talk about cluster and systematic. Okay, so what do those things mean? Okay, so right now, you can review your notes. You can work on your recommended assignments. You can work on your workbook if you have it with you. Okay, I don't want to beat you up too much today. So we'll pick this up tomorrow. Tomorrow, our goal is trying to get through 4.3, 4.4, and 4.5. It's going to be a lot. Okay, so I need you to come ready to work tomorrow. Okay. How many of y'all have actually done your recommended assignments? Like you've looked at them? Okay. I would suggest